So, hello and welcome to our NLP boot camp. No, it wasn't. Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome to Everything NLP podcast. Hello, Boo Boo. Yes, I think we need some help today. And we're going to be talking about an NLP presupposition, one of our favourites, which we know, as they're all our favourites, which is everybody's doing the best with the resources that they've got. And there's many permutations of that at that moment. Yeah. There's many permutations of that in the NLP world, but that's basically it.
Yeah.
So, Lou, how do you interpret this? Everybody's doing the best they can with the resources they have at that moment.
This one took me a little bit of time to accept, to kind of park the judgment when I first came across this one. But what I found was that actually, if I think about it in terms of myself and pick a particular situation, let's say you're feeling stressed, you're under pressure, we know that impacts the areas of the brain that you've got access to.
Yep.
You're in fight or flight, it shuts down the cognitive parts of the brain. So you don't have access to all of those resources. And it helped me change how I reacted to other people who were in that situation, because it enabled me to consider the resources that I had available, which allowed me to put myself in a better position to be able to support them.
Yes. Yes.
So rather than just reacting to their reaction, to whatever their behavior is, it allowed me to step back and say, okay, even if this was a behavior that was completely out of the norm for an individual, for a particular individual, okay, so something's going on that's diminished the resources that they've got access to in this moment. So what can I do to help them widen that resource pool again? Yeah. And so that was one area. And it was one of those things that, like many of the things we talk about in NLP, that, oh boy, do I wish I'd had that in my head when I was back in the corporate world, when I was managing, leading. Oh gosh, I can just, so many examples of how I would have handled it differently. But then that again is, I was doing the best I could at that time with the resources I had available.
Yeah.
If that situation arose now, I would handle it differently because I've got more resources now. Yeah. So it also enabled me to show more compassion to myself, because we've all got those things in our background. They normally come up at about 3 o'clock in the morning. Your head starts to churn them over. 3 o'clock in the morning if you can't sleep. Back in junior 2, or when you were in infant school and you did X, Y, and Z, and the guilt and the shame. It's actually no, because at that time, I was doing the best I could with the resources I had available.
Yeah. And
there's that balance, as always with these, between still being fully accountable for the choices that I've made, or that anybody else is making. They're still accountable for them. But it just allows you to deal with it in a more productive and helpful way. So if somebody that you're managing, say somebody in your team, let's say they kick off and have an absolute meltdown. They're doing the best they can in that moment with the resources they have available to them in that moment. And if that behavior isn't normal for them, then you've got a clue here that something's going on that has reduced their capacity to access the resources that they would normally have. So it allows you to take that step back and deal with that situation in a more helpful way. Now, if that behavior has been destructive, damaging, then that's something that you still have to deal with as a manager, because they're still accountable for that behavior. They're still responsible for that behavior. But you're able to deal with the situation with more compassion and in a more productive and helpful way.
Yeah, absolutely. And instead of asking that question, why, just being able to go, okay, let's talk about it. Let's find out what's going on. Let's deal with this as an isolated incident.
Yeah.
And if it was destructive behavior or something that shouldn't have happened, then you're still going to hold that accountable and discuss that. But what prompted it? How did that happen? What was it that was going on that made that happen, that was out of character quite often?
And then you could react in a way that supports them, that gives them more choices, that means the next time, if that situation happened again, they have more resources available to them.
Yeah.
Because they're better able to manage it. But in the past, it could have easily have just been a butting head.
Yeah. Because actually, if you're being judgment about it, or if you're just butting heads with them, then you're not giving any resources to help the situation. Whereas if you take this presupposition and wear it and allow yourself to go into the situation and try and find out more about it and be more supportive and have that compassion, you are adding resources.
Yeah.
You're also making yourself available as somebody that they can in the future come to and have a conversation with. You're adding to their resource pot. If it's anything to do with maybe emotional turmoil in the office or at home, or whatever it is they're willing to share with you, you become an extra resource just by opening the door, essentially, and saying, I'm a safe place for you to have a conversation with.
And it's really, for me, it's simply about taking that step back, take that breath. I say to myself, everybody's doing the best they can with the resources they've got available in that moment.
Yeah.
That allows me to park any judgment.
Yeah.
It allows me to manage my emotions and what's going on with me in terms of a reaction to a behavior. And then it allows me to approach it in a way that can support them. It widens that. Well, it increases my flexibility, which ultimately will increase theirs. And it allows me to bring more choices to them.
If it's in a work situation, you're helping to build that working relationship. And everybody wants to be productive at work. And a good working relationship means that you can have good productivity. Good productivity. If it comes to personal relationships, everybody wants to be able to have a good personal relationship. Again, it brings more resources to it. It means that you can step back from somebody's behavior and not have that judgment, bring compassion and help support.
And particularly that relationship with yourself.
Exactly.
Because, there's how many times do we replay a situation or a conversation that we aren't happy with, or we think perhaps we didn't handle it in a way that we would have liked, and it can just go around in a loop, can't it? But it allows us to step back. Okay, I accept that I did the best I could with the resources I had available in that moment. Okay, so I can now be compassionate to myself. So once I've established that, and I've created that kind of ring-fenced it with that presupposition, I can now step back and look at it and say, okay, so what was it that triggered that? What was happening just before that? Is there something I can change? Or maybe had I neglected my self-care, my routines? Is this something new? How am I going to deal with it differently? So it allows you to just do a critical evaluation so that next time you're putting more resources in your kit bag as well. Absolutely,
because we are our own worst critic. We will criticise and speak to ourselves in the way that we wouldn't accept from anybody else in the world.
And we would never, ever, ever talk to anybody else the way we talk to ourselves.
No, not in a million years. No. If somebody spoke to me in the way that I sometimes speak to myself, Oh my word, there would certainly be a lot of injured people in the world. We do it to ourselves all the time. So give yourself a break.
Yeah.
Give yourself a break, give yourself a chance to think about it in a way that's unemotional, and give yourself your own personal feedback and space.
And that process, I know I don't want to make it sound glib, you just say this presupposition to yourself and everything's okay. Depending on the level of emotion that's been involved,
depending on the resources you have at the time.
Chanting this for a good while before, but it levels things off. It stops spiraling down. It levels things off. So I know it's not going to get any worse. And then when I'm coming back up for air, that's when I can then step into the next part of it.
And this is what a lot of the presuppositions do. They just allow you to put the brakes on, literally stop and look at it differently, or manage your state, or take a different angle at it. They do bring compassion. They do take away judgment, and they do bring down the level of mind reading and critical aspects that we have about ourselves. The presuppositions just have that wonderful gift of being able to put the brakes on all the stuff that isn't working and give you the chance to bring in something that will. And
there's something I wanted to pick up on there, because I saw something not so long ago criticizing these beliefs as being unfounded, unproven.
Yeah.
And my response is, well, they're convenient assumptions. They're helpful assumptions. You can choose whether to adopt them or not. And some can take a bit of practice at adopting. There's some that we've discussed that, we've been very open and said, you know what, I really struggled with that initially. I really found that tough to take on board. But what I've found is that that's exactly what they are. They're not absolute truths. Is there such a thing? They're not. They don't need to be proven in any way. Are convenient assumptions, helpful assumptions.
Yeah, just useful.
And if that makes it easier for you to deal with something in a more helpful way, why would you not want to adopt it?
Yeah. It's not about taking on something blindly, following it with some with blind belief and just doing it in a. I'll come back to my phrase, which is always, it's not happy clappy hippie. It's about doing what's useful at the time. And presuppositions are useful assumptions. They're convenient assumptions. So why not use them? They work.
Yeah. Did you find when you first started NLP that you were, because the amount of presuppositions varies from board to board, doesn't it? And the wording.
It's anything between 14 and 27 sometimes.
Did you find that you were, maybe picking one or two and consciously applying them?
Definitely.
Because I find if you take that list and here are 14 helpful assumptions to apply to your day-to-day life. I can't remember them all at the start anyway.
I'm a bit of a small brain. I don't remember this.
I used to just pick one and that's going to be that's my focus this week.
Yeah.
And it allowed me to notice more.
Yeah.
Because you see things through a completely different frame when you're looking at it this way, a different lens. But it allowed me to just kind of get it into the muscle and see and explore and play with it and see how it helped me in relating to other people, how it helped me in just living my day-to-day life. And that was something we were very much encouraged to do, because, as you say, this isn't a cult. It's not about following these blindly.
Absolutely not. You've got to apply intelligence to them.
Absolutely.
Completely.
Well, it was that really helped me get to grips with what they could be, and I guess the nuance of some of them, and how they could flex in different situations. So certainly anybody who's starting their NLP journey and is encountering these presuppositions, play with them, experiment with them.
Yeah.
Take one out for a test drive, kick the tires.
Yeah.
See how it works.
You don't even have to use them all.
No.
Just if you've got a few favourites and they work, go for it. If you find you need a new one, there's another one on the list. Give it a go.
Yeah. Because that in itself, just applying one can make such a difference.
Just applying them on, because they all have the same basic mechanism, which is to put the brakes on, give you space to think about it, step back, decide what to do differently, brings compassion, removes judgment, lessens the mind reading.
They all kind of just push you into that space of finding a more helpful response.
Yeah.
And
that's what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
There we are.
There you go. One of our favourite NLP presuppositions.
Along with the other 14 favourites.
Everyone's doing the best they can with the resources that they have at that moment in time. Always good to talk to you, Lou.
And you.
I shall be making sure that this is available on YouTube. And if you want to know any more about NLP, then there will be links in the description about our courses. We have an NLP in diploma. We have an NLP in diploma. What am I saying? An
NLP business diploma.
In business diploma. we have a practitioner course and a master practitioner course. And we also have, excuse me, our regular monthly NLP boot camp, virtual, 1 hour a month, last Sunday of the month usually, completely free. So if you just want to be able to talk or hear about anything about NLP with a bunch of like-minded people, then all of those links will be in the description. I look forward to seeing you.
And the bootcamp this month is enhancing creativity and collaboration with NLP. It's one of my favourite processes. One of my favourites. But what I love about our bootcamps is that we've got such a range of people in it. We've gone international, with people from all over the world.
And all backgrounds.
And all levels of experience of NLP.
Yes.
So it's a great way.
Some know a bit, some know more.
It's a great way to just dip your toe in the water, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And we don't do anything scary. It's always interesting. Just have a discussion for an hour. Yeah. It's great. Yeah. And you learn something new.
It's something that you can take away that'll be helpful.
Always.
Okay,
Lou. We'll see you all again on the next one. Take care, everybody.
Fantastic. Bye.